Okay, we're going to start talking about angles and arcs, and that's what most of our next sections are going to be on, angles and arcs. And we're going to start with central angles, and we talked about these when we did the sectors and the arc length back a couple of units ago. So a central angle is an angle that has two radius, and its vertex is at the center of the circle. So it's easy to remember this name. It's at the center of the circle. It's a central angle. And central angles have the same measure as their intercepted arc. This is the arc that it intercepts. Intercept is where it crosses. And so the angle, the central angle, is angle AOB. That's the central angle, and its intercepted arc is AB. And you'll notice that we're measuring the arcs in degrees just like we measured the angle. We're not talking about how long it is if I measured it in inches. We're talking about how many degrees is in the arc. And we're going to be using that for all our next units. So on here, this shows me on the picture that AB is 82 degrees. And we just said that the central angle has the same measure as the arc. So if this is 82, this is 82. And what about this major arc that's on the other side? Well, if I'm thinking about this major arc here, if I go all the way around on an angle, if I went all the way around here, that would be 360. The same thing's true on the outside. If I go all the way around, the outside is 360. So to find this part, I just take 360 minus the 82, and I find that the major arc here, BCA, is 278 degrees. So let's do some practice problems with that. So here we have this. I've given you a couple of the angles here, and I'm asking for what all the arcs are around the outside. So a couple of things to remember. If I look at a straight line, like this straight line, how much is this going to add up to on this side? It's going to add up to 180 degrees, because this far is 180, and all the way around is 360. That's basically what you have to remember. So I can't get very far with this side because I'm missing two of them. But what if I look on this side? Well, those two right there should add up to 180. So I just need to do 180 minus 135 to get this one right here is 45. And this one's 45, and this little part on the outside is 45. If this one's 135, this part here is 135. If this is 81, this part is 81. Then let's see, if I could also do the same thing with this. If this is 35, this whole thing is 180, and I could subtract to find that this one here is 45. But the two that I marked as 45s, what kind of angles are these right here? Well, if you remember back to like the beginning of the year, these two right here, those are vertical angles. So we know that vertical angles are equal to each other, so that's another way I could have found this one here. And then finally, these three on this side have to add up to 180. So I can just add 81 and 45 and get that this one is 54. And if the angle is 54, the arc on the outside is 54. Notice how I went through and put all my numbers on my picture first. Then I'm going to go back over here and look at my answers. So EF, that's right here, it's 45. ED, that's this one, is 81. DC is 54. CB is 45. BF is 135. And those were all minor arcs. Now these are major arcs, so these are going to be more than 180. FED, so it starts at FED, I'm sorry, and it's going to go right here, FED. So that's going to be 81 and 45 is 126. And that really should actually be a minor arc FD. Sorry about that, that's a typo. EFD, Now EFD goes this way. Notice that these two letters were very similar, but EFD goes this way. So it's everything except the 81. So I could do it by add all the way around. Or I can also do 360 minus 81 and get 279. And finally, CDF, well that's CDF goes from here to here. That's on one of the diagonals, so that's half of the circle, so that's 180. If I add these three numbers up, I should get 180, and you do. All right, let's do one more practice one. What does this mean that it has the two little marks on there? Remember, that means that these two are going to be equal to each other. And this time I gave you this arc measurements on the outside, and I'm asking you to find the angle measurements. And it goes the same way. If this is 86, this is 86. If this is 154, this is 154. And if this is 60 on the arc, then the angle inside is 60. Now, how are we going to find these two here? Well, if I add all the way up, they should add up to 360, so I can add those up. And I get 200, 300. So what I find is that these three add up to 300, and I subtract from 360, and I get that together these are 60. Well, if I divide by 2, I find that each one of these is 30. If you want to double check that you've done it right, go back and add all those up on your calculator and double check it comes out to 360. Now I've got all these written down, now I can just go through and fill these in. Once again, just like I said on the problem before, put all your numbers on your picture first, then come do this. If you don't put your numbers on your picture, you're probably going to make some mistakes. Let's see, QPR, that's this one, 154. SPT, that's 30. UPQ, that's this one, 86. SPQ, okay, well SPQ is all three of these together, SPQ. So I have to add these up, 86 plus 30 plus 30, and I get 146. RPS, that's this one, 60. TPU, that's this 30. SPU, that's both of these added together, so that's 60. And RPU, that's these three added together, so that's 120.